Hello everyone and welcome back to Circus Tutorials. In today's video it's going to be part one of how to spin a lasso. Whee! This lasso's so tiny. So we're going to need a piece of rope. This white rope is a cotton core rope that is from Western Stage Props. This is what most lasso artists use. A great alternative if you don't want to have to order offline and wait is you can get some climbing rope. This is just climbing rope that they use in rock climbing, so you can get them at most outdoor stores. Or if there's a rock climbing gym close to you, you can usually go there and they have to get rid of old used ropes that are unsafe for them, but perfect for our needs. So you can usually get that for very, very cheap or even free depending on the gym and who's working. Once you have a piece of rope that you can use, we're going to have to cut to length. Now this white one is a little bit shorter. This is about 12 foot in length. It's good for practicing and getting the hang of the basics. And then this one's a little bit longer, about 16 foot, which I personally like the length of about 15 to 17 foot, roughly, because then I can jump in and out and do different tricks much easier that are frankly impossible with the smaller rope. Once you get a rope, again, I recommend a little bit smaller to start out with. We are ready to learn the basics on how to get the lasso going in front of us. So once we have the rope set up, the setup to get ready to lasso is actually very simple. We just take the end, put through the loop. That's it, we're ready to start learning. Now when you're first learning, I do recommend that we actually tape the loop closed so it's a fix, so we don't have to worry about making it bigger or smaller. And the way that we're just going to do that is, I'm gonna do it while standing up. I would recommend doing it on the ground. We're gonna make a loop, find where the tail roughly meets the center of the loop, and then we're just going to tape that loop shut, a little piece of tape. Just like that. So now it's affixed and it won't slide down, and we can get used to just keeping it going that way. And as soon as you can, get rid of this piece of rope. It's just going to hold us back after we get the feel for keeping it going. So we want to get rid of that. To get started, we're going to have the tail in our dominant hand, holding the loop open with both hands, just like that. Honda hanging down under the right hand. We don't want it held open like that. It's not going to work very well. Honda under the right hand, we're ready to go. From here, our dominant hand is going to swing out in front of us, kind of like when you see those old fishing nets where they swing out to keep the net open. Similar motion, just the right hand, left hand stays close to your hip to help keep that loop open. Another trick here is make sure you keep it really close to yourself. You don't want to throw it out because then when it comes back, it's going to hit your leg. You're going to want to keep it close to yourself and just open it up like that. That's going to be the first step. Just open it, keep it going just there. After that, we're going to try to keep it going around a little bit. This is one of those things that you want to try to get the feel for. You don't want to force it. The lasso doesn't like being forced to do anything. It's more of you're suggesting it for it to do things and finding the moment to make it do what you want. Good thing to think about is think about where the Honda is and pulling that around as you do it. So that's what we're going to try. Just do a couple loops like this, pulling around nice and gently. Now you'll notice I can only keep it going so long before it twists up like that, and that's okay. We'll fix that in a second. For now, we're just going to try to do a couple times around, just like that, keeping the loop open before it twists up and stops. So the reason that's twisting up like that is actually because we need to turn the rope in our hand as it's going around. So every time it comes around, and so this is if you're right-handed, every time it comes around, when it's between 9 and 6, this kind of bottom half of the circle, we're going to turn it in our fingers, just like that. A lot of people, when they practice, will actually keep like a little chunk of rope or like a pen or something like that in their pocket, and as they're going throughout their day, they can just grab onto that, practice that motion to get the muscle memory for turning that in their fingers. So now that we have the hang of going around a couple times, we're going to try that same thing, but turning it in our fingers to keep it going. Just like that. And now you can see it's not getting twisted up, it's not getting all kinked up and pulling up, and we can keep it going for as long as we want. Well, until our forearms start getting tired, that is. Once we get to this point, we're going to start working on taking that piece of tape away and actually doing it for real.
Oh, you have the loop taped right now?
Yeah.
Oh. does seem like it would be an easier way to learn.
It definitely does help. Hey! Get off there, you. So I've switched over to the blue one. As you can see, it is not taped, so we can start working on making some corrections. The reason I switched over to the blue one is because it's bigger. You should be able to see some of the things I'm doing a little bit better than with the small one. So we're gonna get it going, and so to get this going, now that it's not taped, we're gonna have to measure out the tail to start. With this big rope, it's a little over an arm's length. If you wanna also think about it, if you double up the loop like this, it's about 1/4 or half of the length, or 1/4 of the full loop. Set it up the same way, Honda hanging down under the right hand, and get that loop going. Now from here, we're gonna start learning how to control the loop. So in this case, right here is a good example because the loop is actually a little too big. It's not quite spinning right, and that's because the tail is too short for the rest of the loop. So I'm gonna make it a little shorter, and that's a much better size. As you can see, it's much more even with the ground. And the way that I did that was I slowed down how much I was doing with my wrist and kind of bounced it to force it to slide down the rope a little bit. I slid it down a little bit more, shortened up the loop. Now in this case, the loop is actually a little too small. So to make it bigger, I'm going to make a bigger motion with my hand and speed it up. And so now it'll stretch out the loop, and this is now a good size. So that's going to be how we're going to control the loop. If we want a little smaller, we're gonna slow down, kind of bounce it to force it to slide down the Honda. And to make it bigger, we're going to make a bigger loop like that. Now the bigger loop is actually very important to learn how to do because that's also how we're going to correct it if it's really odd shaped, like if it's an egg shape or if it's off tilt. We're gonna make a bigger motion and speed up, same way that we expand the loop. And that's how we're going to also make corrections with the loop as well. And that's going to be the basics on how to fix it. We'll get into a little bit more advanced stuff in a little bit. But for now, that's going to be the next step. Learning how to keep it going with fixing it just a little bit. So we talked about minor corrections, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, but what about bigger corrections? What about when you have the loop in a really bad place and you need to make a big correction? Well, if the loop is too big, it's really not that big of a deal. You can just bounce it and slide it back down to get to a better sized loop. But now what if it's way too small? Depending on the size, it will kind of change what you have to do. So if it's just, so this is a really good example. This is where it's too small to just make a bigger motion. I might be able to. Nope, it's too small to make a bigger motion with the arm and speed up to just make a bigger loop. The tail's too long, it won't let it happen. So what I actually have to do here is I have to move this hand down the tail. So I actually have to switch with the left real quick and then grab with the right. Now this is really awkward because now I'm actually having to turn the rope with both hands. But as you can see, now the loop is in a really good spot. I have control here. So now when I want to make it big, now I do a bigger motion with the arm. It starts to slide out, and I let the rope slide down my hand as it goes, getting all the way back to the end in a nice controlled spot. This has, like I said, this did take me quite a while to learn, but it is a very beneficial thing to learn. So that way you don't have to just stop, reset, go again, where you can just fix it really quick. And I did it a little slow for the video. I can fix it much faster than that. Where you can just quickly fix it, get back to the point where a good loop, and then you can get to tricks. And so that is going to be the basics on how to get a flat loop or lasso going in front of you. If you have any questions, of course, leave them down below. I'll get to them. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. If you have some videos, I'd love to see those shared on the Facebook and see your guys' progress. Again, any requests, leave those below too. And it's YouTube, you know what to do. With that, that's going to be part 1 of the lasso video. Keep following for more, because eventually we're going to get to the point of doing some tricks and getting that going. But for now, the first step is just having it go out in front of us. With that, I've been Chuck Clark with Circus Tutorials, and we'll see you in the next one.